There is a kind of soldier the galaxy does not have a word for. Not the fighter. Every species has fighters. Not the strategist. The outer corridor has produced brilliant military minds across a dozen civilizations. Not even the hero, because the word hero has been used so many times for so many things that it has lost its shape. The word the galaxy does not have is for the kind of soldier who, in the middle of everything falling apart, turns around. Commander Elena Reyes, turned around a lot. She had been turning around her entire career, 22 years of it, from her first posting as a junior officer on a frontier patrol vessel to the command of the TCV Resolute, which was where she was on the morning that the galaxy learned what her one rule actually meant when it was tested all the way. The rule was simple. She had stated it on the first day of every command she had ever held, to every crew she had ever led in the same words without variation. Nobody gets left behind. Not the wounded, not the scared, not the ones who made the wrong call in the wrong moment. Nobody. Most commanding officers had rules like this. Most of them meant it the way people meant things they said in the calm, genuinely, in principle, in the version of events where the rule was honored without cost. Reyes meant it the other way. She had been tested 13 times in 22 years. 13 situations in which turning around was the operationally incorrect choice, the tactically unsound, logistically expensive, strategically questionable choice that the operational calculus said should not be made. She had turned around 13 times. The 14th time was different from the first 13 in one specific way. The 14th time, she was not turning around for one person or two. She was turning around for a convoy of 11 civilian transports, 418 people, in a debris field in the outer corridor with the Dravath, pursuit element 7 minutes behind her and closing. 7 minutes, 418 people. One rule. Comment nobody if you're still here. Now step into the 14 minutes that made the rule permanent. Elena Reyes had grown up in Caracas, Venezuela, the youngest of 4 children in a family that had the specific quality of families where everyone was responsible for everyone else as a matter of daily practice rather than philosophy. Her father drove a supply truck. Her mother ran a community health clinic out of a space that was too small and always full. Her 3 older brothers had between them the professions of electrician, mechanic, and the kind of generalized problem solver that communities on the edge of resources produced when they needed someone who could fix anything that was breaking. She had grown up understanding, before she had words for it, that people did not make it through difficult things alone, that the measure of a person was not how well they performed when everything was going right, but what they did when everything was going wrong, and someone next to them needed them to stay. She had joined the Earth Forces at 19 because she was good at the things the forces needed, and because the forces were where you went if you wanted to be responsible for people at scale. She had made commander at 38 because she was the kind of officer whose crews performed at levels that made her superiors ask what she was doing differently. What she was doing differently was the rule, not the words of it. Rules said in words were easy. The practice of it, the specific daily practice of a commanding officer who meant it, that every person who came under her command had her commitment that she would not weigh them against a tactical objective and find them lighter. Crews knew. Crews always knew whether a commanding officer meant it or was performing it. The ones who had served under Reyes knew, and they served accordingly, with the specific quality of people who trusted that the person above them was not running a calculation in which they were a variable. The Resolute's crew of 112 were those people. On the morning of the 14th test, they needed to be. The convoy had been Reyes's responsibility for 3 days. 11 civilian transports, mixed registry, mixed cargo, the kind of assemblage that formed in the outer corridor when a regional security situation deteriorated faster than the evacuation planning had anticipated. The Verath sector had been deteriorating for 6 weeks. The Dravath Dominion's, expansion push had moved faster than the Council's threat assessment had projected, and the civilian populations on the sector's smaller stations and outposts had found themselves in the specific situation of people who have been told there is time, and then find there isn't. The Resolute had been assigned to escort the envoy to the Council's inner corridor safe zone, a 4-day transit through the outer corridor's debris fields and relay points, staying on the route that the Dominion's advance had not yet reached. They had been on that route for 3 days. On the morning of day 4, the route changed. The Dominion's advance element had moved faster than the updated intelligence projected. They always moved faster than the updated intelligence projected, which was the specific operational frustration of the outer corridor in this period. And the transit corridor that had been clear 3 hours ago was no longer clear. The Resolute had 2 options. Option 1, continue on the current route, which would bring them into contact with the Dominion advance element within 40 minutes. 11 civilian transports against a Dominion pursuit element. The math was not difficult. Option 2, the debris field. The debris field was not a standard transit route. It was not a route at all. It was the remnant of a station that had been destroyed 7 years ago, a dense field of metal and rock that navigation systems flagged as high risk, and that experienced pilots could navigate with patience and time. The word that made option 2 viable and terrible simultaneously was time. The debris field would take 114 minutes to transit safely, at the speed required to navigate it without losing a civilian transport to a collision. They would exit at the far end approximately 12 minutes ahead of the Dominion pursuit element, which would follow through the debris field at the same careful speed. 12 minutes. If all 11 transports made it through. If Reyes had looked at the sensor picture, the Dominion element closing on the original route, the debris field on the tactical display, the 11 civilian transports that were faster than she needed them to be slow, and she had made the call. Debris field, she said. All vessels, I'll take lead. You follow my line exactly. Exactly. Any deviation and you call it immediately, I will come back for you. The convoy coordinator on the lead transport, a woman named Captain Yara Mensa, who had been running civilian freight in the outer corridor for 11 years and who had the specific competence of someone who had been in tight situations before, had said, "Understood, Commander. We're behind you." They went in. Navigating a debris field at the speed required to keep a convoy together was not a skill that appeared in any training manual, because training manuals described conditions that could be planned for, and a debris field at convoy speed with a pursuit element behind you was not a condition anyone planned for. It was, however, a skill that Elena Reyes had, not from training, from the 13 previous tests, from the specific accumulated knowledge of a person who had been in the wrong situation, often enough to have developed instincts for how to be in the wrong situation correctly. She flew the lead line through the debris field with the focused attention of someone who was thinking several moves ahead and holding the current move precisely. The Resolute's navigation officer, Lieutenant Marcus Acaffer, aka H4, was running the debris mapping in real time. Every piece of debris large enough to damage a transport tracked and plotted, the safe corridor updated continuously as the field shifted. Corridor narrowing at point 7, Acaffer said. I see it, Reyes said. All convoy vessels adjust heading 2 degrees port, following my line. The transports adjusted. All 11. For 41 minutes it held. The convoy moved through the debris field in the line Reyes was cutting, slower than anyone wanted and faster than was comfortable, the Dominion pursuit element tracking them on sensors from behind the debris field's outer boundary. At minute 42, Transport 7 called. Resolute, this is the Aldana. We have a collision warning. Port thruster, I'm losing steering. Reyes looked at the tactical display. Transport 7, the Aldana civilian registry, 104 people was drifting. Thruster failure, control response degrading, the debris field's pieces not moving but the Aldana moving toward them. Aldana, hold your current position, Reyes said. Do not attempt course corrections, you will drift into debris. Hold. Holding, Commander, but I'm losing. I know, Reyes said. Hold, I'm coming. She had said it. She said it before she had worked out how, because the working out came after the saying, not before, and the saying was what the rule meant. Nobody gets left behind. The math was not good. The Aldana was 200 meters off the convoy line, drifting into debris at a rate that would produce a fatal collision in 11 minutes. The Resolute could reach her in 3 minutes, but pulling the Aldana back to the corridor required time to attach the tow line, time to correct the drift, time to clear the D. Ebris? The Dominion pursuit element was now calculating the debris field entry and would be in visual range of the convoy's exit point in 14 minutes, 3 minutes to reach the Aldana, 4 minutes minimum to attach tow, 6 minutes to correct drift and return to corridor, 13 minutes total, 14 minutes until Dominion contact at the exit, 1 minute. 1 minute between the last transport clearing the debris field and the Dominion element arriving at the exit. If everything went exactly right. Commander, said her executive officer, Lieutenant Commander Sovarel Sova Ariel. The margin, I see the margin, Reyes said. If the tow takes longer than 4 minutes, it won't, Reyes said. Commander, I need you on the tow controls, Reyes said. Not on the margin, you know what I'm going to say next. Rel was quiet for 2 seconds. Nobody gets left behind, she said. Correct, Reyes said. Go, she brought the Resolute around. The convoy continued without her Captain Mensa on the lead transport, holding the line that Reyes had cut, navigating by the corridor map that Akafor had transmitted. 11 transports minus 1, moving through the debris field at exactly the speed they needed to move at. Reyes went back for the one. The tow line took 4 minutes and 18 seconds to attach. Not 4 minutes. 4 minutes and 18 seconds. She noted the 18 seconds without adjusting her calculation because adjusting the calculation was not what the situation required. The situation required the tow line to be attached and the Aldana to be moving and the debris cleared. The tow line was attached. The Aldana was moving. The debris cleared at the 11-minute mark 1 minute before the math said they had. Aldana is clear, Rel said. Release the tow, Reyes said. Aldana, you're on your own engines. Can you steer? Port thruster is at 40%, the Aldana's captain said. I can steer. It'll be rough. Rough is fine, Reyes said. Follow the corridor map. I'm behind you. Move. The Aldana moved. The Resolute moved behind her. 12 minutes and 41 seconds to the debris field exit. The Dominion pursuit element was tracking them on the sensors at the field boundary. 14 minutes. 14 minutes from the moment the Aldana had called to the Dominion element reaching visual range of the exit. They had used 12 minutes and 41 seconds on the tow, 1 minute and 19 seconds remaining. Reyes pushed the Resolute to the edge of what the debris field allowed. Corridor map holding, she said to Akafor. Holding, Commander. Exit in 2 minutes at current speed. Push it. Commander, if we push we risk. Push it. She heard the navigation calculations running. She heard Akafor do the thing that good officers did when their commanding officer told them something they were uncertain about. He ran it, checked it, and when it held, he held it. Exit in 90 seconds, he said. The Aldana cleared the debris field at 13 minutes and 44 seconds. The Resolute cleared at 13 minutes and 51 seconds. The Dominion pursuit element's lead vessel crossed the debris field boundary into visual range at 14 minutes and 22 seconds. 31 seconds. The convoy was already past the exit point, on the inner corridor route, at a speed the Dominion element could not match in the debris field. 31 seconds. The debrief was 48 hours later, at the inner corridor safe zone, after the convoy had been processed, and the 104 people on the Aldana had been seen to, and the Resolute's crew had slept and eaten. The debrief was with the Council's Operational Review Board, 3 senior officers, the kind of board that convened when a field commander had deviated from the operational plan in ways that required official accounting. Reyes had deviated significantly. The board reviewed the recording. The debris field entry, the convoy navigation, the Aldana's thruster failure, the decision to turn back, the tow, the extraction, the exit. They reviewed the margin, 31 seconds. The board's senior officer, Admiral Patricia Holt, HOLT, looked at Reyes across the debrief table with the expression of someone who was holding 2 things simultaneously: the operational assessment and something else that was not in the operational framework. Commander Reyes, Holt said, the decision to return for the Aldana reduced your safety margin to 31 seconds. If the tow had taken 5 minutes instead of 4, if the Aldana's thruster had been at 30% instead of 40, if the debris corridor had narrowed further. I know what the variables were, Reyes said. The decision was operationally unsound, Holt said. Yes, Reyes said. Holt looked at her. 104 people, Reyes said. On the Aldana, the toe held, the thrusters held, the corridor held. She paused. The rule held. Nobody gets left behind. Holt said. Nobody gets left behind, Reyes confirmed. Holt was quiet for a moment. The board's assessment, she said, will note that the decision deviated from operational protocol. It will also note that the deviation resulted in the successful extraction of all 418 convoy personnel, and that the Resolute's crew performed at a standard that the board assesses as exceptional. She paused. Both of those things will be on the record. Yes, ma'am, Reyes said. The rule, Holt said. It has been tested 14 times. Yes, ma'am. It has held 14 times. Yes, ma'am. Holt looked at her for a moment longer. Commander, she said, off the record, is there a 15th test that worries you? Reyes thought about it. She thought about it honestly, which was the only way she thought about anything. No, she said. The rule doesn't change based on what the test is. If it changed based on the test, it wasn't a rule. It was a preference. Holt was quiet for 3 seconds. Dismissed, she said. Take care of your crew. The Aldana's captain sent Reyes a message 6 days after the safe zone arrival. It was 4 sentences. It said, 104 people on my ship, every one of them is going home. I have been a freight captain for 11 years. I have never had an escort come back for me. Reyes read it in her quarters on the Resolute with the specific quality of quiet that followed a test that it held. She sent back 2 sentences. The rule is the rule. I'm glad it held. In the Resolute's crew log, the entry for the debris field transit was marked, mission complete. All convoy personnel accounted for, no losses. In Reyes' own record, the one she kept in a notebook because she was 51 years old and had been keeping notebooks since she was an ensign and was not going to stop now, the entry for the 14th test was brief. It said, debris field, Aldana thruster failure, margin 31 seconds, rule held, 14 for 14. Below that, in smaller writing, added after she had received the Aldana captain's message, she said she had never had an escort come back for her. 11 years. I don't know what to do with that except to keep going. She closed the notebook. She went back to the bridge. The Resolute had a new posting. The outer corridor was still the outer corridor. There would be a 15th test. There was always a 15th test. The galaxy did not have a word for the kind of soldier who turns around. It was learning to recognize the shape. 418 convoy personnel arrived at the Council's inner corridor safe zone on a Thursday. They arrived because a woman named Elena Reyes had a rule and meant it the hard way, not in principle, not in the version of events where it costs nothing, but in the version where the math is 31 seconds and you do it anyway because nobody gets left behind is not a thing you say. It is a thing you are, or it is nothing. If this story landed, if you recognize the 31 seconds, or the rule that doesn't change based on the test, or the captain who said she had never had an escort come back, then you know what this is about. Subscribe if you haven't. Every week, stories about the people who turn around. Leave a comment. Say nobody if you're still here. And tell me, when did someone come back for you? When did you come back for someone else? I read every single one. Every comment. I want to know. Share this today with the person in your life who turns around, who has the rule and means it the hard way, who doesn't calculate whether the person is worth it because the rule is the rule and the rule doesn't change based on the test. Nobody gets left behind. 14 for 14. There is always a 15th.